I was one of the actors of the peaceful agreements in Central America. At that time, I was a politician who was trying to create an opening society in our country and in our Central America. And I decided that the only one way to create an open society was try to promote the idea of democracy in our country. And I began to work like a politician in a time where repression from military governments was the political attitude of our governments. This repression, this attitude of the governments lead our countries to a war in all Central America, and especially in my country. The war endured 36 years, and we lost a lot of people, a lot of intellectuals, a lot of young people, and almost destroyed many of the infrastructure of our country. Even in my political party, we lose about 300 leaders in all the country, killed by the government. And we begin to work in our plan. It was a long resistance for democracy. And we support the repression. We organize our political party, and we at least succeed in opening the democracy in 1986. And I became the first president elected after 35 years of military governments in our country. It was a really hard times. Even myself, I suffered 4 attempts against my life. And the half of our directory of the political party was killed or kidnapped, and we never saw them again. But we succeeded, and we opened the democracy in our country. And from that time till today, we, for the first time in our history, we have 27 years of democracy, and we are working together looking for a better society for our people. But the most important thing is that I realized at that time that we couldn't be an island of democracy in Guatemala. And then I decided to propose the other presidents of Central America to make a meeting in our country in a place named Esquipulas. It's a small town. But this is very important for all the region of our country, because it's a place of faith, pilgrimage. And everybody go to that place to ask for miracles and favors to God. And it's a big tradition in our country to go there and ask for something. And in that place, a small town, we, the presidents, got a meeting, and we signed an agreement that is Esquipulas first. And 1 year later, we made another meeting, and we signed Esquipulas 2. It was the procedure, the process, how we are going to gain the peace through this process. And we, in 1987, we signed this agreement, and now we have peace in our country. We finished the war in the region, and we signed with the guerrilleros the peace agreements to finish the war that it was happening during 36 years. Now we have democracy, we are working together, and now we are thinking in other things. But maybe the most important thing I have to tell you is it is the lessons I learned from this process. The lessons I learned in that process is that the most important thing for a leader, men or women, are the principles he is trying to look for. Because without principles, without values, you are not going to be able to maintain the resistance against repressions, killings, or prosecution. Then the values we were looking for, they were first democracy. We had to understand that we all are necessary for a country to build that country. And to work together, we have to have a democratic system. The second value is participation of the people, because we have to provoke the participation of the people, and thinking that democracy is the government of the people and for the people. You know pretty well that an American, Lincoln, talked about these values after his speech in the Gettysburg field. He was talking about democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And those values improve our decision and our commitment to resist the repression and to ask with a movement of ideas and participation of the people to the military governments that leave the place, because we want to stop the war and we want to a better democracy. The second value is be convinced that you are not alone in the world. We couldn't make the peace process if we were not able to increase the interest and the understanding around the world that in Central America we need peace, and that we didn't want to be the field of the world confrontation between the east part of the world or the western part of the world. We wanted peace, democracy, and participation. And that's why we understood that if we wanted to succeed in the peace process, we had to work all together with the world, with the region, and with other countries like United States. And then we decided to go to many places in Europe, in United States, to talk with the politicians and say, you have to support our effort in our country, because no one country, even United States, even the size of United States, could be alone in the world. The United States, Europe, Central America, and South America, we need the world. We have to understand the world, and we have to share our values and our proposal and commitments with all the world to build a new kind of society. And the third part, it is that any politician have to have an historical compromise with his people. You have to think about, if you want to do something big, you have to think that you have to be in the history doing things in favor of the society and in favor of the people. It's not a question only of personal interest. You have to have a common and collective interest to succeed in politics. With these values, I decide, and we decide in the Central American agreements, to begin a new era in our countries. And that's why we continue working all the time. And after 25 years, also we realized, and myself, talking with the people, realized that it was not enough with the democracy. It was not enough with the peace process. That we should have also in trying to make disappear the poorness of the people, the lack of participation in the benefits of the society. And that's why even when I finished my presidency and I leave the office after a democratic process, we already have 7 democratic elections in Guatemala and in Central America, and then the electoral democracy is working. Then I realized that we have also to work in democracy, but also in the economic field. Because if we have poorness, if we don't give the people opportunity, the political system is going to fail. It's going to, because we don't have an old democracy, we have an institutional democracy that it's still is not too strong to maintain themselves without giving the people opportunities to receive the welfare, to receive the benefits, and to participate in the richness of the country. And because of that, and I'm going to finish with this point, it's because of that I decided to continue working after the office, because the values that lead me to work in changing the situation of our country enforce me and give me the commitment of my duty. I couldn't finish all the things I wanted to make. Then, if I really want to contribute to continue looking for perfection of our society and opportunities for the people, I should work even if I was not in the office. And that's why I established a foundation to begin again to make agreements in Central America. Because if we alone, one country of Central America, we are small countries in this globalized world, we are not able to participate and compete in this world. That's why I decided, well, like the peace process, we have to work together in Central America. And that's why through the foundation, Esquipulas Foundation for a Central American Integration, I am working to get again all together to try to improve a development process in our country to resolve now not the peace, not democracy, but try to give the people the opportunities in the new development we have to improve. And the second thing that I understand, the lesson I understood, it was that we are not alone. And that's why I proposed the organization of a presidential mission in Latin America. And I invite some other former presidents to work together in favor of consolidate democracy, to consolidate process, and to maintain the peace in our countries. And then the foundation, the presidential mission, and also try to give the young people the understanding, and that's why I'm here, and I really appreciate the invitation of the President Fox, because I believe that if we don't give the young people the understanding that they have to be global leaders, they have to think about the people, and they have to work in favor of the community and the integration of all the world and the regions, we are going to have again a split world with confrontation and big problems. You know that the world is going through a very important crisis, and that we have a lot of problems they are affecting all the countries around the world. Climate change, environment, hungry people, and other things. Then to confront those problems that are going to affect our country and our society, we have to work together. Then the most important thing of this is to learn the lessons the history gives us, and to understand that if we want to maintain a democratic society like the United States, like the society we have in Central America, that the democratic society the Europeans have, we have to think like a global leader to help all together in trying to have a better world in the near future. This is my point of view, and those are the lessons I have to translate to you, because you have really a big opportunity. You are an elite in this world, in this kind of university. Then you have the compromise, and you have to have the commitment and not only think about you, but also to consolidate the democracy and the society in the United States, but in other parts of the world. Thank you very much.
Muy bien.